can try and win championships, and that's what it's all about. When you look from the outside and you watch this team, I know we're going to have a real good, solid hockey team this year.
Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. And today, Kaapo Kakko extended to a 2-year deal with the New York Rangers. We've been waiting weeks for this to happen, and it's finally finished. Chris Drury got the deal done. Kaapo Kakko will be back for the next 2 years, playing on the wing for the New York Rangers, hopefully top 6 in the lineup. Eric, how are you doing today, and what's your initial reaction to this extension of Kaapo Kakko?
I'm doing good. I'm very excited and satisfied with this contract. We expected him to sign a 2-year bridge deal, which is exactly what he did. I think the numbers were fine. It's a $4.2 million contract for $2.1 million a year. And that's exactly what we need. Kakko has showed a lot of promise throughout his career, but, he hasn't really proved himself yet thus far. So we're hoping for a good 2 seasons out of him to see where he really stands in the NHL. And then if he does well, we can extend him to a longer, bigger term contract. And if not, maybe that's when we consider letting him go. But this is basically his final chance. I'm happy to see what he can bring to the table.
Absolutely. So am I. This is kind of his final chance. It is a bridge deal. So after these 2 years, if he doesn't play up to par, sayonara. Or long-term extension if he does play up to par. It's going to be really interesting to see how he performs over these next 2 years, especially when you take a look at this contract. Now, it comes in at about $2.1 million average annual value, which is about what we expected it to be. We said it should be somewhere between $2 and $2.5 million. We didn't really expect anybody to put in, any qualifying offers and raise that price. We thought that the Rangers would be able to get Kaapo Kakko between $2 and $2.5 million average annual value, and they did. 2.1, I think, is a very fair and solid contract for both parties, the Rangers and Kaapo Kakko. But when you take a look at it, so if you look at where this contract is going to be when it expires in the summer of 2024, the Rangers will be in a lot better position with the salary cap because both Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba will see their full no-move clauses become modified no-trade clauses. So that $8 million cap hit for Jacob Trouba, that $6.5 million cap hit for Chris Kreider, both of those players could end up getting moved in 2024. They could be trade candidates in order to free up some space to make Kaapo Kakko the future and sign him to a long-term extension if he performs up to par. But of course, if he does not perform and exceed any expectations, if he falters over the next 2 years, can't stay healthy, whatever the case might be, they can move on from Kaapo Kakko and just keep those guys that I just mentioned, Trouba and Kreider, on their current deals or maybe extend them, whatever the case might be. But this does allow the Rangers a lot more flexibility in terms of the cap space when it comes to Kaapo Kakko looking ahead to his future. So, Eric, what is your takeaway on this contract, $2.1 million average annual value, and the fact that it expires in 2024?
I mean, like I said, it's good. I think it's a great value. It's perfect just for 2 years, just as a nice little bridge deal. And then, when you consider the Kreider and Trouba contracts that'll be modified at the end of this bridge deal, it's definitely a nice trick that Drury can have up his sleeve. If we do need more money to sign Kakko to a longer extension, we could always trade one of them away. I don't know how open I would be to trading away Chris Kreider. He's coming off a career year with like 50 goals. And, hopefully he'll be able to reproduce that. I'd be more open to trading Trouba. Trouba's a solid defender for us. He has his ups and downs though. And, we kind of just got to see where he's at that stage in his career. But, moving either of them if need be, that's always an option that's good to have.
Absolutely, but options are something that the Rangers are unfortunately running out of for the 2022 offseason right now. Of course, taking a look at it, after this deal hits the books, the Rangers are left with only $1.8 million in salary cap space right now. And when you take a look at it, a full 22-man roster, bonuses and everything, they're really going to end up with around $933,000 in usable cap space between now and the start of the regular season, which is a little bit of a cause for concern. But taking a look at that, Eric, that 1.8 million or the 933,000, however you want to look at it, they do have a couple players that they could try and move. They could try and make some moves between now and the regular season to free up a little bit more cap space. But is there any moves that come to mind that you want to see the Rangers make in terms of using that last little bit of cap space that they have?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think one good way to open up a little bit more cap space would be to trade away both Dryden Hunt and Gautier's contracts. They're both around like 800,000. So if you trade both of them away for like a 7th-round pick or even just future considerations, you're opening up a little over $1 million in cap space, which then gives us a little room to maybe potentially sign Mott to a 1-year contract or just have the open space for when like the trade deadline comes around. Definitely, no matter what happens, we're going to be a little strapped for cap this season. But luckily, we have most of our big pieces in, and I think the only things we would need to do are just like minor moves on like the third or fourth line. So, as scary as it is, I think we'll be okay. And yeah, like I said, Hunt, Gauthier, two small moves we can make just to open up a little bit more, just to be a tiny bit more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've talked a lot about the money. Enough with the money. Kaapo Kakko. Let's talk about Kaapo Kakko now and our expectations for him in the 2022-23 season. Let's take a look at him. Of course, looking at his statistics over the 2021-22 season, he played in just 43 games. He's 21 years old. Got to mention that first. Super young player, was part of the kid line. 43 games. He had 3 stints on the injured list, so that kept him out of almost half of the season's games. But he did manage to record 18 points during the regular season with another 5 points in 19 postseason contests. He was healthy during the postseason, which is something to point out. And Kaapo Kakko had a lot of really good performances, but in the end, his season ended on a somewhat disappointing note and confusing note as Gerard Gallant decided to make him a healthy scratch for Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, which, of course, the Rangers went on to lose, break our hearts, and get eliminated from the playoffs. But let's not get those war flashbacks right now. Let's talk about Kaapo Kakko. Eric, what are your thoughts on him? What does he need to improve on from last season in order to really fulfill the top 6 line that the Rangers are going to put him in this year?
I think the biggest thing that he just needs to do is start scoring goals and finishing the plays. Throughout his entire career, we've seen Kakko skate around the ice, having like amazing hands. He's playing with confidence. He's making great moves. But then when it comes to just putting the puck in the back of the net, it just never happens. He's like the ultimate setup guy, and then always just blows it. And it's like it's usually never even his fault. He either just gets robbed or hits the post or like something that's out of his control. But Gerard Gallant said that he does see both Kakko and Lafreniere playing top 6 roles this upcoming season. So I definitely see Kakko playing on that second line right wing, which would then put him with Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck. So if there's any 2 players on this team that will help set up Kakko for these goals that he needs to start scoring, those 2 are definitely the players that he needs to be with. Playing with Panarin and Trocheck, I definitely can see Kakko putting up 40 to 50 points this upcoming season, almost doubling his career points. So that's definitely what we're going to need to see from him. If he wants to make this bridge deal worth it and then get that bigger extension at the end of 2024, I definitely need to see him score 40 to 50 points a season. And that's really the only way that I see it working out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Big expectations for Kaapo Kakko this year. Of course, it's only a $2.1 million average annual value on the contract, but still, the Rangers are expecting a lot from this guy. I know it's not a huge deal like the one signed for Vincent Trocheck, but that's because it's kind of a prove-it deal, right? We're trying to get Kaapo Kakko to prove himself over the next 2 years and earn that big extension, similar to what Trocheck got. But when you're taking a look at it, let's go over the first 2 lines of top 6 right now, projecting them. You're talking about left wing on the first line, Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad at the center, and probably Lafreniere at right wing, which we're going to discuss in tomorrow's episode. So stay tuned to that because we're talking about probably big jumps in production from not only Kaapo Kakko, but also Alexis Lafreniere. So we want to take a little bit of a deep dive into Lafreniere and our expectations for him next season. So stay tuned to that tomorrow. But taking a look at the second line, Panarin at left wing, of course, center, Trocheck, big deal there, and right wing, Kaapo Kakko, as Eric just mentioned, having Kaapo Kakko play along Trocheck and Panarin could be huge for his production and development this upcoming season. But again, Chris Drury saying that he wants to see those 2 players, those 2 young guys, end up in the top 6. That's going to be huge, and it's going to put massive expectations on the shoulders of Kaapo Kakko. Now, one thing to mention, Kaapo Kakko, after being a healthy scratch from Game 6 in the ECF, he did mention that he's using that as motivation. He doesn't want to ever have a situation like that happen to him again. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's motivating himself to be a better player this upcoming season. I think there's a little bit of a fire lit under Kaapo Kakko right now that might really just push him to that next level this upcoming season. Eric, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's great that he's using it as motivation because that's really what you need. It was like him being scratched in Game 6, whether it was a good call or a bad call, like we'll never know. But it's kind of just like a wake up call for him. He's like, oh my, like my position on this team isn't guaranteed. He needs to fight for it and prove himself, which is exactly what like he's feeling right now on this bridge deal. He knows that this is his chance, like to make or break the team. So hopefully he'll go into that top 6, playing with the same confidence that we've seen him play with throughout his career, but he'll actually just start to produce points, and that's exactly what we need. It kind of seems like it's the same story for a lot of players on this team right now, like Lafreniere, like Kravtsov, like Hedel, but mainly Kakko. Kakko has the most to prove out of anyone, and this is his chance.
Absolutely. We've been saying it over and over. Make or break. Prove it time for Kaapo Kakko. I can't wait to see if he does rise to the expectations. Of course, like I said, this is a deal that we were expecting to get done. Chris Drury on July 13th said, quote, "We think the world of him. He's a terrific young player. We want him here for a really long time. It's a player we want, and I'm not too worried about getting him into the fold soon." End quote. And of course, getting him into the fold soon, exactly what they did. They accomplished that. Now he's signed to this 2-year deal, and I'm really excited to see how he's able to perform on this $2.1 million average annual value. Again, our expectations for Kaapo Kakko are extremely high, as they should be. He was a second overall pick in the 2019 NHL draft. A lot of expectations for a young, talented player like this, and I can't wait to see what he can do playing in the top six, right wing on the line with Panarin and Trocheck. It's going to be really exciting. But make sure to leave a comment down below and let us know what you think of this contract and what your expectations are for Kaapo Kakko in the 2022-23 season. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Again, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode talking about the first line right wing, Alexis Lafreniere, projections for him in the 2022-23 season. We're super excited to discuss that. But again, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss a video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.
He shoots.